so as you can see, I have already stitched most of the clouds, but I'm gonna be stitching this last part with you. I want to show you how to do the stitches and also some tips for when it starts getting full like this. So first off, I'm going to be starting with a piece of yarn that's about 2 feet long. It can be a little bit shorter, a little bit longer, but if it's too long, it will likely get tangled while you're stitching. And sometimes it's hard to thread the yarn, but I twist it and then kind of hold it flat, like pinch it flat. And then pull it through. And we're not gonna need to knot this end because that's gonna be the start of one of our loops. It's technically not going to be a loop. So instead of starting from underneath, we're gonna start up top, and I'm gonna start away from these loops just because I'm showing you how to do a turkey stitch first. So I'll go down, and then we'll hold about 1 inch of the yarn away, and then we're gonna do an anchor stitch. So I don't always do it super close because if I feel like it's pulling the felt too much, I don't want it to be that close. And if it pulls up like that, I just tighten it. Okay, so we're gonna do it kind of over that first stitch. But see, it's not even too close. You don't have to be very precise because people aren't going to be seeing these stitches. So I'm bringing it back up again. Make sure it doesn't get caught on the back. You don't want any long pieces on the back. And I'm going to do a stitch right next to it, but again, not too close because I don't know, with yarn it's just easy for it to become hard to stitch because it's so bulky, the thread. And just a tip, you can hold the pieces away, and if you're like, I don't know how long I want it to be, just stick your finger in there and pull until it's about the length of your fingertip. And then I'm just gonna do another stitch. The stitches can be really small, the anchor stitches. And don't worry too much about the fabric being loose right now. We can tighten it as we get closer to the end. You don't have to tighten it between every stitch, unfortunately, because this is thick thread and it's felt. It is going to stretch a little bit. That's just the name of the game. I promise it will turn out. So I like to just make the stitches in a row. You don't want to start a stitch over here and then make another loop over here. Easier to keep them close-ish together, and just continue in a pattern. Otherwise, it can get kind of messy and difficult to see where you have and haven't stitched. Yeah, just kind of continue like that. Try to keep the other loops out of the way. You don't want to get them tangled up. And they don't have to be, like I mentioned before, they don't have to be extremely close together, the stitches, because the end result is still gonna look fluffy. If you feel like there's a bald spot, you can always go back in. Oop. These are all gonna be covered, especially once it's all cut. So yeah, now that I'm coming up on the part that's already been stitched, just continue doing the same thing, making a loop and then making an anchor. Oh, okay, this is a good example. If you accidentally pull a loop too tight, you can just lift the loop back up again. And then do a little anchor stitch. A lot of people have criticized me and said that the anchor stitch should be directly over the 2 stitches, but you know what? I don't think it matters. I think it's more important that you just have an anchor stitch. See, it's not covering them. Some of them are just a little bit separated, but it's gonna work out. And that's how I did all of these, and look at them. And see right here, like, it's so fluffy, you can't see any of the purple. But if you were to like separate it, you'd see there's like little spots. But once we cut it and fluff it, you're definitely not gonna be able to see anything. Okay, so I'm gonna speed it up and just finish the rest of the loops for this cloud and show you what's next. Okay, so I wanna show you how I finish up a thread. So I'm just doing an anchor stitch for this loop right here that I'm holding down. And after I do the loop, see, we're at the very end of the string. And you can stop a little bit sooner than this, but I'm just gonna pull it right up after the anchor stitch and let it go. So see, it's gonna be a little bit longer. If that is gonna get caught in things, I'll just trim it a little bit. You can see there's some loose ones around here. So yeah, that's how I finish it off, so that there's no loose strings on the back. And this is what the back is looking like. There's no loose threads. There's a couple spots where it has gotten a little bit bunched together, and that's when it can get hard to pull the yarn through, but I still feel like felt is the easiest to use when it comes to yarn turkey work. So yeah, I'll finish these up and show you what it looks like in a minute. Okay, so now that all the loops have been stitched, I'm just gonna go in and cut. Let's get better scissors, actually. I'm gonna use my little embroidery scissors, just go through and cut all the loops. I like to just put it through, pull it tight, snip. Then they're pretty much cut even. And you just keep going till they're all cut. And then I'll show you what's next. Okay, so the loops have been cut. It is possible that I find some as I'm trimming, and I'll just do it then, cut it then. So, all right, so the loops are cut, and now we get to start trimming. And the way that I like to do this is basically start around the edges. So kind of look for that general shape that the clouds, the original clouds, were drawn, and I'll just kind of trim up around the edges like that. I don't get too close the first time around, but you can see here, like, it goes up, so I'm kind of gonna cut in that direction. There is gonna be a lot of fluff, and I usually like to clean most of it as I go so that I don't get confused on what's attached and stuff. So yeah, because it's extra fluffy right now, we want to kind of find the shape of those clouds again. And I feel like this is the best first step. And you can skip around. We'll go to this cloud. And if you feel like there's any big pieces that are getting in the way up higher or more into the cloud, you can cut those as well. Any of the scraggly pieces will need to go anyways, like these here. Looks like some of those are coming from different directions. Okay, what is the shape of this? Obviously, you can refer to the guide too if you're not exactly sure the direction that the clouds go. So right now I'm thinking I really want to clear up some of this space so we can see the sky when we start stitching the sky. And this is one of my favorite parts, around the edge. so now that we've kind of found a lot of the shapes, you know, the circles around the outside of the clouds, it's still way too scruffy and fluffy here. So what I like to do is, for instance, you see right here, I like to envision a little ball and I'll cut in right here and just start shaping the cloud to look like little fluff balls instead of one big mound. But if you would like, you can definitely do that. You can shape it to be kind of a dome like that rather than like little balls, but this is the way that I like to fluff it and cut it. And just kind of angle the scissors in the direction that I want to go away. The shape that I want the cloud to be. Obviously, no one's is going to be exactly the same, but that's kind of the beauty of it too. And with that, you can keep going around and shaping the outer edge of the cloud as well, because that becomes easier as you go. So yeah, I'm gonna speed it up again, show you how I do that. Now, the last step is not necessary. Like, if you cut it like this and you're happy with it, you think it looks cute, then by all means keep it that way. I just, you know, like to give myself extra work. So, you see how here, like, you can see the individual pieces of yarn. I like to go through and comb them, and I start at the top and then work my way down the piece of string, and this really makes it fluffy. It makes it even less like yarn and more like a puff ball. So I'll just go through and do that. And sometimes, like you can see here, it made it not as round. So after I fluff it, then I will go back and trim any extra pieces that look a little scruffy to me. And then that's it. We're done. The clouds are finished. Well, I'll show you, I'm gonna just fluff it a little bit and then I'll show you the final result. Okay, it's all fluffed out now and cut, but there are some little pieces. Okay, I found one more. It's like the tiniest bit. So now I'm just gonna use some packing tape. You can use cello tape, whatever. And I'm just gonna cut off a piece because it's very fuzzy. I'm just gonna go around and clean it up. even a little bit on the clouds because there's little extra pieces. We want to clean it up so that we can see the other lines. But in the kit, it'll be a little bit easier to see because the design is drawn with black lines. Oh, looks like I might need a new piece of tape. Already looking much better. To see me stitch the moon and the sky, go to the next videos in my playlist. Thanks for watching.